Hello, everyone. We are live now. I'm really happy that you have joined this workshop because this workshop is a little bit different from just sourcing training. It's about how to become an expert in sourcing, and let's think if sourcing can be trained. For example, at Mature, we help companies to find the best tech talents, and we source across 60 countries. We can find like remote candidates, we can source local candidates, and we do it for companies like Booking or TikTok, really scale ups, technological companies. But how to become a professional in sourcing? And I know who has the answer. Please meet our great host today, Balazs. Balazs is great, brilliant sourcer, excellent speaker, and beautiful person in general. Say hi to everyone.
Do that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, everyone. Good evening, morning, afternoon, midnight, whenever you are on the planet. So let's just start, right? Let's go for it. All right. Let me share my screen. And yeah. All right. So can sourcing be trained? Oh yeah, I always said this slide. I really don't like to talk about this slide. My name is Balazs. I'm a sourcing trainer. I feel like I'm a sourcing grandpa. Like I've been in the industry for so long time. I trained so many people. I still love it though. But I've built teams. Like large size teams, and and I always have supported many companies, like to build their sourcing capabilities. So if I can help you, you know how to find me. Okay, fine. Intro was done. Who is sourcing? So we need to start this whole thing today with this question. And before I tell you my answer, I need you to join me for a little bit of an activity. So get on your phone, please, people. Go to menti.com. You need to type in those 7 digits, 16, 82, 44, and 1. And then please vote. So tell me whether you are a 360 recruiter, or a sourcer, or a super sourcer, or you don't source. Okay? So please, again, take your phone, go to menti.com. Boom. There we are. Okay, keep them coming. And if I have only one vote, then I will tell Anastasia that I had only one person listening to me today. Nice. So please go to menti.com. Please go to menti.com. I beg you. All right. Ooh, great.
Well, give some time for people. It takes time to
understand. All right, let's wait a little bit more. So we have 5 people, 6, 7. Great. Keep them coming. Cool. I like the fact that we have more humble sourcers today than not so humble, right? All right, so 16, 17 votes. I gave you some more time, like we have time, right? I'm booked for an hour. So we can wait a little bit more. If you still want to vote, you still have like 1 more minute to go to menti.com and then type in the 7 digits and vote. Anyone else? If not, then we say fine, thank you. This is really cool. For some reasons, every time, anytime, when I speak at a conference, I like to ask something like sorry, this is my late hours accent. I always ask something like this, like a question like this. And often I'm getting split between recruiters and sourcers like 50-50%. And this is the same split that you see today. Today, why this is interesting? Because I was super curious. Boom, thank you. I was super curious whether we had like anyone who would say like they are not sourcing. But certainly we don't have anyone, right? So everyone has to source in the today recruiting. Everyone has to source. Now, what you also see is that not everyone has to source on the same level, and not only sourcers have to source. So why this is important? Because when we think about how to train sourcing, how to learn sourcing, we the first thing that we need to understand is that sourcing has many layers, and sourcing is not the ultimate job of the sourcer. And everyone has to understand and have to learn sourcing. So sourcing is an expertise that everyone has to have at a certain level. And sourcing is also a chain of tasks that you need to run. And certainly, hopefully, you guys still have sourcing as a passion. Now, if I think about sourcing, I like to think about sourcing as a mountain, not an iceberg, but like a giant mountain. And because why the mountain? Because first of all, because sourcing is so complex, and to get to the top of that mountain, I mean, you need to climb quite a lot. But also, from other perspectives, sourcing has so many layers, and not everyone has to climb to the top of the mountain. Some people are happily living at the bottom of the mountain, and that's also fine. So sourcing has layers, and not everyone has to have the same expertise and the same understanding. And this is what we see. The majority of the people today, they are recruiters, and they have a great, or hopefully they have a great understanding, like usually a strong basic understanding of sourcing. And then we have sourcers who are more specialized in certain things, and then we have the top geek people, the super sourcers, who are like the techie people, right? When you have a look at within a company, this is usually the split that you see. You see that usually companies employ something like 80%, like up to 80% recruiters, and then the rest 20% are containing sourcers. And then just like a really thin part contains or includes the super sourcers. Now, if I think about that, like what is the understanding, what is the expertise that I would require or we would require from these three various participants or contributors, this is what I would tell you. Recruiters have to have a strong basic understanding of sourcing. They have to understand how to search for candidates on LinkedIn, not just like adding a keyword, not just like adding Java engineer, end of story. No, they have to really understand how to use LinkedIn or LinkedIn Recruiter. The same is true, with job boards. They need to somehow understand, basic Boolean, right and or not, brackets, quotation marks, whatsoever. In a happy bird, they are supposed to use the ATS, and they are supposed to run searches within the ATS, and also to call out referrals. So I would say this is the bottom line, right? This is the very base minimum that I would require a recruiter to be proficient at. Now, when it comes to the sourcer, certainly the level of expectation is changing. And we say, okay, because you are a sourcer, I expect you to be able to find candidates on our channels. But also I expect you to be able to run searches via Google or Bing or Yandex or whatever you guys use. Sourcers are more geeky people, right? They like to play with wonderful Chrome extensions. They are the ones who read everything from Dean da Costa. They are supposed to understand how to leverage the CRM, and time to time, sourcers, or not time to time, but sourcers are the ones who are usually tasked to build talent pipelines. Now, but when we go to the top of the sourcing game, and then when we talk about the super sourcers, that's the moment when we start talking about coding, or building bookmarklets, or running more complex automation, using scraping tools, using automation tools like Zapier, chaining together certain actions to be able to automate and to eliminate the human work. Also on that level, on the super sorcerer level, we expect sorcerers to be tasked to think about AI. And, like AI, big word, right? Ooh. But for instance, like a smart matching system is, can be also driven by AI. So basically, if you think about, okay, what is the scope of sourcing and which contributor needs to know and what? This is what we see within a recruitment organization, within any talent acquisition organization. These contributors have to be able to source, and they have to have a certain level of sourcing understanding. And not everyone has to have the same understanding. Now, when it comes to the training part, like how can we train all of it, right? The first thing that we need to think about is that how training works. And there are the 4 ways of learning, and hopefully this is nothing new for you guys. But basically, the 4 ways how human beings learn has been written, for 50 years ago, and these are the 4 ways. Some people want to read, and they want to write. That's one type. Other type they need to see, right? So they are the more visual people, or they may want to watch a video or watch a webinar. Some people want to listen and discuss and speak, because within that interaction, that's how they can really get to the right learning. And some people need to do the stuff, to practice. Now, if you think about that, how we can apply these 4 type of learnings to sourcing, I guess that is a really, really interesting exercise. Again, try to imagine that you are the head of talent acquisition at, GE or IBM, like a big company. And you have hundreds of recruiters and, tens of sourcers and, a few of super sourcers. And, you really try to find the best way to train all of these people and to level up your entire organization. So what is the right way to use the 4 ways of learning and how to combine with all of these knowledge elements? And this is what I am hearing and what I am experiencing from the market. Basically, there are 2 types of, easy, right? 2 types of learning, sourcing learning and sourcing training today. One direction is the e-learning platforms. Those are all the webinars and all the e-learning systems, which are great. Some of them are super great, some of them are less so great, but they are out there and they provide you with recorded sessions when Johnny Campbell or Mark Tortorici, they talk about sourcing. Now, those e-learning systems, I believe, and that is my understanding, can be extremely helpful for the yellow parts. For the baseline, for the basics. Because also it is my understanding that so it's easy to teach the basics, via reading and watching. So even with the basics, we have a certain level of, we have a certain need to try out these things, to discuss and to practice, LinkedIn searches, whatsoever. But still, what we are seeing on the market is that if you want to scale up your learning, you can, and you are happy to provide learning till just like the minimum level, then these e-learning solutions can be extremely helpful. When it comes to the more hardcore stuff, when it comes to the super sourcing stuff, I believe e-learning just does not work. And it's not my belief, as it is really the experience that we see in the market. Because those things are really complex or can be quite complex. And you just cannot, you can get to a conference, and you can listen to, I know these sorcerers talk about how to build a bookmarklet, but I would doubt that you would be able to replicate that bookmarklet building on your own after one session, right? So you really need to practice it and to do it and to discuss. So think about your company, think about your organization, think about, okay, what type of contributors you have, who source. So it's not only the sourcers, but it's also the recruiters. Maybe it's even the leaders, maybe HR. You think about it. And then you start putting, these boxes to your mountain. And you need to understand that, okay, which boxes can be trained via which solution. And the reason of those solutions is because of reading and seeing and watching and whatsoever. Now, when it comes to the e-learning systems, there are quite a few great ones. So these are great, like whatever, all these three are really strong. So Social Talent, I'm sure you guys know it, been in the market for a long, long time. Johnny Campbell is a genius. We all love Johnny, and he's super sexy still. So Social Talent is great. SourceCon Academy is run by Mark Tortorici, who is another genius, really, Mark. He's got a brilliant mind. I think Social Talent is, as a platform, is more developed. So Johnny and the team have put a lot of creativity into Social Talent compared to SourceCon. But SourceCon, the level of content is extremely solid. And then we have, the people sourcing certification running by Irina Shamayeva. And I guess we all know Irina, right? Irina is particularly strong with the search part. So when it comes to Boolean and LinkedIn and job boards, so that type of thing, like how to search, she is the goddess. Now, so going back to this model, right? Going back to your company, to your recruiters, to your sourcers. If you want to level up, till the yellow level, the yellow mark, I would boldly suggest you to consider one of these solutions, or to build your very own one, right? Because that is also a possibility. But in terms of to run webinars, to make guys joining conferences, or to build your own e-learning platform, can be a great and easy and successful solution for scaling basic sourcing knowledge. When it comes to the training part, I think that's the more challenging point. And I personally, I might be old school, guys. I may be just too old. Sometimes I just feel like I'm just getting too old, and like, I don't know, I'm excited. You need to tell me if I'm too old for this show. But I still believe that the more hardcore stuff, when primarily we use the discussion and the practice and like the doing part, the market. In that part, we need a trainer, we need a mentor, we need a teacher, and there are a few really great sourcing teachers and trainers out there. A few of them are on the screen, like really great people, including myself. No, but all of my friends, Mark, from the States, Vanessa from South Africa, Kasia from Poland, she's brilliant, Gordon from the Netherlands. So basically, in every country, you will find some really strong sourcing mentors or trainers, and in the States, certainly you will find 256,000. In terms of like how a training can be built, I brought you like my schedule just to give you a idea that what I believe like can be a like a learning curve to like to a hardcore sourcing training. So in a hardcore sourcing training, so not only do you have to talk about searching, right? And certainly not only you want to talk about LinkedIn and Google and the search engines, but you also need to talk about every channel. And when I say every channel, I do mean like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Behance, Kaggle, you name it. And then I personally believe in the curve when we teach the search part, like how to find information, how to find people. And then we move on and we say, fine, now we have a candidate, so how can we find their phone number, email address, and so on? And then when we are done with that session, I like to practice a lot, and then I like to talk about again now how we are going to outreach this person. And in my work, with our master classes, we end up the whole training with a really solid technology training day when we talk about all of these like automation and scraping and whatsoever tools. So again, like for the yellow elements, if you may remember still the mountain yellow elements, if I again was leading a team, I would really consider one of these solutions. For training my sorcerers and super sorcerers, I definitely would consider talking to one of these like top trainers, and also to build a curriculum, like a course, which is going much far beyond than just like the search part. All right, but this is just the training part, and training is not enough, because beyond the training part, and I think that will be the cool stuff. Beyond the training part, we also have to talk about how to continuously, like how to you remember in the old time when we were living in caves, and some people always had to take care of the fire, because the fire was a big thing, and you just didn't want the fire to go away, right? And this is the same with sourcing. It's great to give a boost to the training, and it's great to train your people. However, you constantly have to keep the fire. And this is just so true with sourcing, because sourcing is evolving weekly, sometimes daily. Like one day LinkedIn is working this way, and then they change the hours on the night, and then overnight, and then they, whatever trick you had, they won't work the day after. So that's why it is critical for every organization to build those mechanisms or processes or procedures that keep sourcing alive. And I'm bringing a few of these things, for you. I'm sorry, Dima, you will be bored, my friend, but just partly bored. So don't go too far. So some of these, things that I've been collecting, from our peers from the planet. So number one is sourcing. So sourcing has been coined by the brilliant Natalie Glick. Natalie used to be the global sourcing head at ThoughtWorks, and now she's a global sourcing program manager at IBM. And she's coined the term and the activity sourcing when she was back in with ThoughtWorks. So sourcing is a sourcing exercise. Now this is a setup. You have a challenging rack where you continuously make hires. So you continuously recruit people on that rack, the evergreen high volume. You get it. And then you pick a date and a time, like an hour, and then you invite all of your sourcers, super sources, recruiters. You give everyone the same rack. You open up a Google spreadsheet, and then you make every contributor source against the same position. So basically, they have to build a long list. And you need to agree that, what is the minimum data that, the guys have to gather, like have to source. Excuse me. Is it first name, last name, company, title, email, whatever, right? You name it. And then going through the 1 hour, everyone has to really seriously work on this assignment. And, they cannot do anything else. And we were doing it, we were trying it, with some of the gangs. And what is super great is that, so first of all, you will have a solid long list of new candidates within an hour. If you combine, if you bring together the brain power and the sourcing expertise of all of your recruiters and sourcers, and if you make them source on the same position, that will generate a long list, like a strong long list. That's one. Two is that you foster collaboration. Because you can do what we did, for instance, we said, whenever someone is missing any information, like they can, well, we were using Zoom, right? Recently. and we said, like if you cannot find an email address, you just talk to the Zoom, and then someone else will pick it up. So you foster collaboration among your people, and and certainly also like it is also a learning experience, and by the way, a great team experience. It makes people love sourcing. That's one. Now the other one that I guess I coined, and then no one else is using it. No, just kidding. Is something that we had. We call it the Piñata Day back to Roasted Source. So the story is this. When we had the anniversary of the sourcing center of Roasted Source, I like to celebrate a lot, and I wanted to buy these piñatas, and we bought these piñatas. So we bought the piñatas, and then we put them to the ceiling, and then the next day, I understood that now what? Now I have like 100 piñatas, in the wardrobe, and we won't be able to use them like not any closer than the next year at the same time. And because Randstad is a Dutch company, I was super much inspired by lean and eliminating waste and these things. And we started to think about that. How can we use the piñatas? Because again, you just don't want to waste 100 piñata, right? Do you? And then we understood is that the piñatas can be used for a really great cause, and the cause is that. So that's what we call the Piñata Day. So the management team goes to the office an hour before the start, 8 a.m., and we start putting up the piñatas to the ceiling. When the guys enter the office, they realize that, oh, fuck, this is a Piñata Day again. Because the Piñata Day has some certain rules. Rule number 1 is that you cannot search any lead that day. Piñata Day is all about engagement. We start every Piñata Day by sending over the reports to all the people in the center, saying like at this moment within our talent pool we have whatever 12,835 people, and you cannot add nothing. You cannot add not even a single lead to this pool, but you have to work on the engagement part. And you may remember, I don't know if we have some old people like me in the call, but this was around the time when we were watching the what was that, the Wolf of Wall Street, and I was so much inspired by that movie, and and that movie was a lot about like calling, and like it's sales, and that's what we wanted to implement. So we said, you cannot touch the number of leads. So you've got to call people. You have to call them and make them become a candidate. And we always set some goals. Let's say, if today as a team, like the entire center, if we can make, let's say, 150 submissions, you guys can go home. Whenever you make the number, you go home. And it did happen sometimes that we were able to hit the target like by noon. And and that is super, super fascinating. Because the management team, we were able to see the numbers, like we were reporting the numbers every half an hour, I think. And we were seeing the growth, and the growth stimulated everyone within the center. So it was like it was buzzing, it was like woo, woo, woo. That was a really strong vibe. Everyone wanted to achieve the target, and by the way, the target was on the entire center. And sometimes we didn't make targets, and that's it, but sometimes we did. And then we were able to give some rewards. Now, all in all, as a conclusion, the Piñata Day, the sourcing is a brilliant exercise to teach your people how to search together and how to search even better. Piñata Day is another brilliant solution to teach guys how to continuously run engagement. and how to continuously leverage the already existing talent pool. Now, another method or technique or way to keep the love of sourcing is to introduce the sourcing buddy concept to your people. The sourcing buddy was first written by Jan Texer, Jan. And and that is a really simple thing. And basically it's just like that. If you, let's say you work in Kiev and you may have a colleague in, I don't know, Liverpool, you can form a buddy ship with that person. Because the buddy is out there to continuously help you whenever you are stuck. And I know it sounds like, and then what? Now, yes, it's not rocket science, it's not, Jan will not get the Nobel Prize for this one. I'm sure he will get the Nobel Prize, well, I'm pretty sure, but maybe not because of this one. But basically the concept here is that you as a recruiter or you as a sourcer, you know that there is someone out there who will receive your call and who will pick up your call and who will do his or her best to help you. And that just gives so much. And again, that builds a bond between these two people. And again, it's a bond about sourcing. And the last thing I wanted to show you, in this from this angle is that when I was working with Cielo, or I'm still working with Cielo, how we started to build like a culture of sourcing towards to 2,000 recruiters. So Cielo is an excellent example for a company where we thought really seriously that everyone has to be able to source, because we didn't want to outsource or like in-source sourcing to sourcers, but we really wanted to keep sourcing within the entire company. And we started to build pillars, like pillars how people can attach to, how they can connect with sourcing. We are having, training sessions, we have a community, we have like something which is a guide, that's a booklet, and also we run hackathons. And I wanted to show a little bit more or share a bit more about the hackathons. So Dima, if you're still there, now this will be new information for you. The hackathon is, yes, we use Jan Texer. He's built a platform, and I will give you the link at the end of the slides. And there is a sourcing quiz or sourcing test or sourcing hackathon platform that you guys actually can purchase from Jan, and then you can build it for your own company. Or you talk to me and I'm happy to build it for you, whatever. So the concept is easy. You ask a question, a sourcing question, and then let's say 5 questions will form a quiz. And then all of your quizzes will form the hackathon. Simple, right? What type of questions do you ask? Well, you need to ask sourcing questions. You need to ask questions that will make your player source. So a question like this one. What's the catch? So please go to mentor.com because this is a real thing. You don't have to source, but you need to answer this one. I like this question, and I can tell you that most of the CL recruiters, they failed with the answer. And the question is this. This gentleman is a VP at IBM today, but used to be a sales manager before. He lives in London, UK. How many years has he been with IBM? What do you think? Why is this question difficult? Please go to mentor.com, please. Type in those 7 digits. And now you can write your answer. So you have 250 characters, so don't write the poem. Just like a few words. Why do you think this question may be challenging? Hopefully we still have people on the show. I don't see your chat, I don't see the Q&A, I don't see Anastasia, I only see my screen, and I try to focus on my webcam. Okay, we are getting there. All right. Okay, so don't look for the answer, but try to tell me why this question is difficult. Why does this question cause challenges to recruiters. Why is it a good sourcing training question? What do you think? So you can use Menti because it's fully anonymous, right? So I won't see who was giving that answer. Just think about it. Why this question is difficult for people? What do you think? Okay. Okay, keep them coming. So somebody is saying like this person is hidden inside web, so you need to use various resources to find the correct answer, step by step, use logic. Or how can he jump from a manager level to a VP level? Okay, what else? This is actually not yet the answer. I'll show you again the question. Think about it. Why do recruiters fail with this question? These are great answers, but this is not the reason why recruiters fail with this question. Okay. So because we need to add years of experience, put the VP and the sales manager. Great answer, but not the best answer. Great answer. Anyone else? If you were a manager or a director, let's say TA, head of TA, and you give this question to your recruiters, why would they struggle? Let's read one more answer. I want to see this one more. And I'll tell you why. So, this information, because there is no such a person on, on the internet. Well, I will disappoint you people. I'm sorry. The answer is this, because everyone, including you, overlooked the word manager. And every recruiter starts looking for sales managers at IBM. And they go to LinkedIn and they are looking for a VP, and then they will not find the person because their brain is immediately was correcting my typo. But this was not my typo. That was the actual exercise. And why this question is so great? Because this is a question when you can actually really test whether people read it or not, right? Whether a recruiter immediately corrects everything and just don't think, just immediately execute. Now, immediate execution is great when you work in the prison, but it's not great when you're a sourcer. If you're a sourcer, you have to pay attention to all of these details and clues, and that's why recruiters fail, because they don't read it. They switch to their recruiter brain. So within the hackathon, oh no, sorry, I was just curious. You guys think by when it comes to managers, how many UK-based LinkedIn user does have manager as their current title? So UK LinkedIn profiles current title manager. What do you think? Please vote. It's just for fun, I'm just curious what you think. So you need to go to menti.com, right? Use your phone, add those 7 digits, and then just choose what you think. And if you're not searching, if you want to go for the right answer, that's also possible. But let's see what you think. Okay, 9,500, 5,900. What else? 11,000. 2 times. Okay. So a few more votes. What do you think? Okay, so just 300. 2 times. Okay. All right. So, what is really interesting, and that's why the previous question I think is really valid, this one. Because if you actually check LinkedIn, yes, there are 11,000 people in the UK today whose current job title is manager. Okay, so if your brain is continuously correcting these things, you will never find them. All right, that was just a pop quiz. Going back to the hackathon. So going back to this whole world of quizzes, questions, challenges. So we started to build all sort of quizzes for Seattle. And quizzes can be client related, can be industry related. Like we can build various quizzes for certain countries. This is for Germany, this is for Sweden, this is for whatsoever. You can also do that via channels or via sourcing tools. And the great thing is with a hackathon is that everything is measured. Whatever the player is doing in the hackathon, as they fill out and complete the quiz, we measure everything and every step. So, for instance, we measure if somebody's skipping a question and then going back to try to answer again. We are measuring how many wrong answers a player is giving to a certain quiz. We are measuring the time spent, how much time they spend with one question and with the entire 5 questions, so the entire quiz. We are also measuring whether they use the hint, because there's a hint every time, so you can ask for some little help. And not only are we measuring everything within the hackathon, but basically we are also giving points after each and every of these actions. And the great thing is that because we measure it, so we have it inside. By seeing these numbers and by seeing these charts, we can totally understand the brain work, the sourcing behavior of a recruiter. So in this case, what you see, for instance, is that we asked the first question, the recruiter was giving one wrong answer, then he or she skipped it and then moved to the next one, and then person was giving 4 wrong answers, then going back to the first one. You can actually replicate like the entire behavior of a recruiter. And because of the points, we are able to point, to measure every action, every performance, every behavior. And with that one, we were able to build a global benchmark for Seattle. And now we have data around 800 recruiters, and I can immediately tell you that what is the current state of sourcing within a global company, right? So what I wanted to show you today is just some thoughts about that, how you can train people, right? So how to think about the various, the separation thing, so you say, okay, fine, the yellow buckets, the whatever. That's one. 2 is that beyond the training, how you can work on keeping the fire, protecting the fire of sourcing, and actually building a culture where every contributor connects to sourcing, but also they fall in love with sourcing. So this is my final slide. I personally find it super nice, but this is my sort of my vision when it comes to sourcing and training. That sourcing should be always somewhere close to the recruiter. So it's not, if sourcing is not a thing that we see every day and then we breathe every day and then we connect with every day, then basically we won't be able to source well. So we have to build an environment when sourcing is hanging on the wall and constantly reminds us that we need to source and source everything. So that was it from me, and hopefully this was close to why you were joining us. Thank you so much for joining the quizzes and the votes. If I can help you with training or with building your sourcing function, I am here and I'm more than happy to help you. And yeah, thank you. Let me see if there are any questions in the Q&A. Hey,
A
my
couple of
friend.
coins from my side. Actually, with Mature had training from Balazs, and it helped us a lot. So really, don't hesitate contacting him and get this training. It's super helpful.
Cool.
And we have a question actually. One was posted by Tim in the very beginning, and another one was posted by Dima.
uh-huh.
Guys, if you want to ask a question, post it in a special field in the bottom of the screen. So Balazs will answer it.
So, what's the difference between a sorcerer and a super sorcerer from team? I would say is a level of like technical understanding, right? So when you think through the positions that you work on, the majority of the positions usually do not require sourcing, and then like something like 20% may require sourcing, and then like something like 3-5% require really deep dive sourcing, or 3-5% of your ranks require continuous talent pipelining, or so that's the like that minority of the requisitions where you need to do something extremely special or extremely difficult or extremely complex or extremely large size. So that's how I would differentiate the super sorcerer and their skill set from the regular sorcerer. And then the other question is that do you have any guidance or list or trainings, webinars that can be done? Right, that is a great question. So, because the answer is not, I do not. No, but why this is great? Because the world is just changing, and I guess every company is just like, so in this year everyone was rebuilding like their portfolio and services, so it is really changing. So whatever, I mean, think about the conferences. God knows when or if or how we will go back to the old world, and then because every conference went online, that sort of like that significantly modified the whole webinar business and the online training business. So we are just seeing a total big shift and a change in this whole story. So I don't know yet how like, so it's just changing. Like let's talk next year at the same time, and probably by that time we will have a solid list of like topics and trainings and webinars that I guess is also really must watch. All right. One more question. What do you think of using OSINT? Yes, Untitled Intelligence. This is a great question. I think okay, this is my honest answer. I think we don't need OSINT in sourcing. I think we need OSINT because it's sexy and it's exciting, and and if we are obsessed with searching, then we will anyway check OSINT because it's just like great. But to fill a rack, I think you don't need OSINT. To find someone that you are dating on Tinder, and then to find all the information and whatever, and then to crack their Instagram, and that's where you can use OSINT. But but really, to fill a Java developer position, I think we don't need OSINT yet. Does it also mean that we don't need to learn about OSINT? No, of course not. But I would rather, if I have 10 days to train my people, I would spend my first 7 days on LinkedIn and the regular channels that should really make sure that they totally masterize those channels. And probably I would just spend the last 3 hours on OSINT. That's how I would build my curriculum. All right. If there are no more questions, then I think we are.
Thanks for inspiring. My personal top sorcerer. Mine as well.
So, all right. Well, thank you. And yeah, if you have any questions in the meantime, you can pass it to me or to and then and we can answer them later.
I have a question for you, Balazs. When do you have your next presentation on conference?
So yeah, the next is next week. So next week is Silent 42, and then I will have just the last one in the end of November. Really, hopefully. The reason I'm saying hopefully because there's a lot, like so. This is still the season, right? And and then you speak a lot, on these conferences. So my next is so I'm flying to the States,
Kind of Zoom flights.
Exactly. I'm moving my Zoom to the States next week. So yeah, that's Talent 42, right?
That's
There's
cool.
one more from Anna.
Hope to see you soon, and thanks a lot for participating in our workshops. I really appreciate.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining, guys. Thank you. Have a nice evening or day.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Bye bye, guys.
Bye bye.